¿Qué tal, amigos? Welcome to another edition of LatiNation Football Club. I am your host, Marcelino Ortiz. I'm here with Nik Z.
What's up?
El Dragón Chechevic.
Dragón.
And El Brujo Crespo, my good friend Alex. How are you guys?
Great.
Chilling.
Qué semana. So much top quality football.
Where do we start?
Para ustedes en el mundo y para nosotros aquí en LA. That's right. Estamos de fiesta. LAFC eliminated. No, el Cruz Azuleó. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, my friends. It's time for champions.
Wow. Voice of an angel.
I see that you're not wearing any Barcelona gear. What's up with that?
Because we're going to get into it later, but it's also Copa Libertadores week. So, I got to rep my,
Don't
homegrown
deflect.
team.
Don't deflect. Barcelona is out of the Champions League, my friends. It is just like a cassette playing over and over. Barcelona eliminated of the Champions League. I saw a meme of this guy repeating in a loop. Oh, are we out of the Champions? From 2016 to 2026, 10 years. ¿Qué pasó con tu equipo, Crespo?
You want the nice answer, or do you want the real answer?
The real answer.
The real answer is the game was rigged, okay? This is what we're, the ref was the one that truly won this game because we saw terrible calls. I mean, there was one play where the ball went out, deflected off the foot of an Atletico player. Nothing was called. Then the red card with Eric Garcia. Sorloth tripped on himself, just like I'm tripping on my words. Like this, it was just a bad call after bad call.
Okay, hold up. Rewind the tape. Speaking of cassette, because there's more to it than just, that's not fair. We won. We should have done it. No, hold on. There's a bigger picture thing going on here. You mentioned cassette tapes. Me and you. We grew up in a time of uninterrupted Spanish dominance. You grew up at a time where Uruguay was like the World Cup winners. But Alex and I, it's been like nonstop Spanish leagues, the richest, the strongest, the best, blah, blah, blah. That's changing. This is a more multipolar Champions League.
Giants anymore.
They're still there. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm not saying they fell off. This is it. Real Madrid's done. Barca's done. No. I'm just saying there's more competition, there's more money out there, there's more talent out there going to other leagues. Obviously, we got to think about the EPL, which has always been a super league, but now they got the cash and they got a lot of the talent and they're doing great. Doesn't mean Spain's done. We'll talk about the World Cup later. I think Spain's probably going to win this tournament, but hey, I'm just saying. This is a broader field now. Sporting is doing amazing.
But we see a lot. We see, new teams, new countries starting to dominate. What we see right now, something that we didn't expect it, PSG seems to be the most in shape, complete team in the competition. Bayern Munich right behind them, and then we see Arsenal, downward momentum. We see...
Well, but to go based off what you guys were saying, PSG is really shining, and especially against the English teams because they have a record of like 20-something goals to like 5 goals against English teams. So, and they're from the Farmers League, you know what I mean? So they're really showing that they deserve that Club World Cup.
So let's recap the results. Atletico de Madrid goes and defends themselves to the death with the knife between their teeth, and they are able to eliminate Barcelona after a complicated game, 2-1. Who is the MVP of this series for you guys? I think that Julian Alvarez, it could be the most influential player in the whole series. But for me, the real work is from Cholo Simeone. The coach, for me, is the big star of this team because he has created the level of belief needed to have quality players like Griezmann happy to be subbed at the 60 because they know it's the best thing for the team. That's not happening on Barcelona. That's not happening on Real Madrid. We see players that are so eager to be the star of the team that they might be not playing for the team. What is your take?
I think that there was some some interesting tactics with this game because Araujo coming off the bench, I think that was a no-go. I think he should have been in there earlier on in the game because as soon as he got in there, you saw the whole team shift onto the attack. Yes, did he miss some headers? Yes, but I mean, you saw the momentum change a lot. And I feel like Lewandowski could have been a key player as well, and Ferran Torres. Yes, he scored, but I think coming off the bench, he is a crucial player rather than when he starts.
Hansi Flick might have lost the bet of the high press. Cholo Simeone decided to sit back and render that technique.
But that's what they're known for. They're known for the park the bus method.
Now, Nick, let's move on to another quintessential Champions League game. Bayern versus Real Madrid. What a first half of that game. So many goals. We didn't know who was going to advance. Earlier in the week, I was invited on SportsGrid to give my betting report. I was saying...
Did you call it?
I called it. I called Bayern. I called Arsenal to advance. But I was cautious, and I said, it's not wise to bet against Real Madrid because they have a mystical connection with this tournament. And for, for a little bit of... For
Most decorated club of all time.
There was this star that, Nick, you might be a little bit concerned looking into the World Cup. Arda Güler, my friends. This young Turkish player, probably the best player on the field after Luis Diaz, the best one for Los Blancos. He will be the engine of Turkey during the World Cup. What a player. Bright future for some of them, but again, you cannot be changing your coach 2-3 times in a year and pretend to compete on Champions League. Arbeola, the rumor is that he's out. Is Madrid losing its guiding north by just replacing coaches every 6 months?
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of a managerial crisis, I think, bigger picture for Real Madrid. But I would say it's the same thing that's happening with Barca. This isn't about any decline on Real Madrid's part or Barcelona declining as clubs. I think we just see other teams playing great football. And on that note, I don't want to take away from how great Bayern is playing right now because this isn't all about Real Madrid not doing great. There's also a storyline here that Luis Diaz is probably one of the best players in this league, in this tournament, if not the best. Put him next to Kane.
Olise. Early goal.
Dude, I mean, Bayern is absolutely amazing. They were a dark horse when this whole thing started. Now they're up there as probably maybe the clear favorite, at least from my point of view. They're just so solid and so clean and quiet. They're not flashy. They're just scoring goals and doing what they need to do.
And the importance of Kane, because this is a player that,
50 goals.
He was the one that, now we're seeing Tottenham in the stage that they're at. They're fighting relegation right now because they're missing players like Kane and Son. But, I mean, Kane is a beast. And, he's a slow one, but he's a beast.
Here's the thing.
Dude, England is
Vincent
so
Kompany, the Belgian coach, has been able to do what very few. Keep this team playing at the highest level. When they hired Kompany, everybody was like, are you guys nuts? Are you guys hiring a coach that comes from a team that is almost in relegation? They brought him into Bayern, and now the rumor is that he's the successor to Pep Guardiola in Manchester City. A lot of things are going to change in the now. What the dominance says about PSG when we see them winning twice 2-0 over Liverpool.
I mean, this also goes into, say, the state of Liverpool right now because they have not been on a good run. Ever since they won the league last year, they just kind of have been, they lost that momentum. And I think that PSG is showing that after the Club World Cup, they kept that momentum going in the league and in every tournament they've been in. So I think that each individual player on this team is showing that they're ready for the World Cup too. So it's going to be a very exciting team.
Champions for PSG?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, if we saw a PSG Bayern final, it would have been a completely different story. But I think PSG could have the upper hand in this game against Bayern, and then whoever's on the other side, I mean, they're going to...
Now, Nick, 30 seconds before we go into break. Tell me, Arsenal, not so flashy. They were able to advance against a very important Sporting CP. Do they have any fuel left in the tank to make it to the final.
I'm seeing a downward trend with Arsenal. I'm seeing them losing that momentum. But look, again, football, it's about luck. It's about the moments that happen on the field that can happen at any time. So never say never. But if I were to say now, right now, on paper, I don't see Arsenal, going past to the finals and winning the whole thing.
There you have it, my friends. We have to go on a break, but don't go anywhere. On the other side of the break, más football. That's right. You're watching LatiNation Football Club. ¿Qué tranza, mi gente? We are back here on LatiNation Football Club y es momento de la MLS. And Nick, let's take a moment because you pulled out the vintage threads.
Yeah.
No way they call you Gen Z now. You're like full Onk mode with
Nick's
that
got
t-shirt.
drip.
Break it down for us. Have you ever seen any of these logos, Alex? Does any of that sound familiar to you?
The Galaxy one from their retro kit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Chicago still is pretty much the same, but is that like the Wizards, the Michael Jordan one?
Yeah. He played baseball and then he went into the MLS
then he went to
after
play
that.
soccer.
Yeah.
He played golf
exactly.
at one point too.
Yes, too.
And golf.
Yeah, that is some
He did this on the weekends.
vintage piece of history.
original-
the original
12 teams.
12 teams
Yeah.
of MLS.
Yeah,
The
totally.
Galaxy was as bad then as it is today, Nick.
No, they were not. They were actually winning. They were dominating with Kobe Jones. And look, what's going on now?
Let's take a look at the standings. Let's start with the West because then let's start at the East so we don't get into issues because Galaxy, LAFC mismatch is too strong. My friends, Nashville, the best team on the East, not only went to El Estadio Azteca, now known as Estadio Banorte, I will refuse to call it, so Estadio Azteca, and les dieron un aztecazo al América, to my heart content. An MLS team wins in Azteca for the first time, the same team that is topping the standings on the East, above Miami's Messi.
Oh, my God. Okay. How much of that is Nashville being genius and how much of it is America just being right now?
Half and half.
Half and half?
Nick's got
Half
it.
and half.
Nashville is brilliant. They're playing absolutely amazing.
If America was playing the way they were playing 2 years ago, at the height of this Jardine tenure, different story. But today, that's the beauty of football. But now, let me shift my attention with Crespo. Brujo, Miami is sounding alarms all over. Mascherano, the coach that just shy of 4 months ago bring you the championship. He's now let go. Probably he got into argument with Messi. Bertarame is under the impression that he's not as wanted as he thought he was in the team. He's not playing. Scored 1 goal in 8 games. ¿Qué pasa con Miami, Crespo?
I mean, with Berterame, it's an Argentinian team, and you got a Mexican in there. I mean, that's.
I mean, it's an Argentinian Mexican. He should be able to fit in.
Yeah, the beef is still kind of there, but
No.
but besides that, I mean,
What's going on with Miami?
With Mascherano, I mean, it's sad to see this, but you know,
Is it a Messi thing?
who knows?
It's always a messy thing when it's about Miami.
Probably.
always
I mean,
a
that's why we got DePaul, was because Messi's there, you know. But
He has a section of the new stadium with his name on it when he's still in the field.
But I mean,
play like
the only reason people know Miami is because, not just because of David Beckham. At first, it was because of David Beckham getting a new team and everything.
Beckham.
Sir
To
Beckham,
you.
my bad. The guy married to the Spice Girl. But you know, Messi's the one that made Miami what it is today.
For
so
sure.
I mean, that's why he has his stand. That's why the club is at where it's at right now, because.
But between the first place and the third place, there's a very, very surprising team. And I'm talking about Chicago, Nick.
Yeah.
Chicago, a team that not too long ago was a bottom feeder, always fighting those last 4 spots on the table. Now with Berhalter taking over the organization, not only as a head coach, but also as the top head of the front office. How important it is for Chicago to be back in the top of MLS?
Oh my God, it's wildly important. If we look back, if we refer back to my T-shirt, you will see Chicago Fire as one of the original members of the MLS. Do not zoom in too much because you'll see the guacamole stain on my shirt. But back to Chicago, it's huge. This is a legacy club, something you wouldn't know about as an LAFC fan. So it's great to see them back at the top. It's good. We love to see it. It means a lot.
What I do know is being at the top of the standings, because let's go to the West. Because let's see, Vancouver, first place, San Jose,
Speaking of
another original franchise in second place on the West. They used to be called San Jose Clash.
I mean,
now the Earthquake.
Is this thanks to Timo Werner?
Timo Werner is definitely a reason
Yes.
why, but also because Bruce Arenas, one of the most condecorated coaches in MLS, is at the helm of San Jose, with a revival that started with Chicho Arango, a lot of goals, but now we see a solid team that lost their best player this season. Cristian Espinosa left to Nashville, leaving a great hole in the midfield, and yet second place, and just behind one of the most dangerous teams. A new team that is not on T-shirt, on Nik's T-shirt. They're not, but they are on to the next round on CONCACAF Champions. They spent almost 6 match days without receiving a goal, and I'm talking about LAFC. That's right, El Black and Gold. Son and Boanga coming into the best rhythm that I've seen them play together. But not only that, all other lines of the team are responding, and we're seeing, I like to call it, this is the year that we win it all.
Is this Sun Dynasty gonna carry over to the World Cup, though, you think?
Without a doubt.
I believe
Hey, the Boanga Sun dynamic. At first, people were like, Sun. Well, started this season, people were like, hey, he's not scoring. He's not. There was a little bit of panic over Sun that he's underperforming, this and that. No, you don't need him to score when you got Boanga doing his thing. They're a perfect dynamic. If Boanga's out, if Boanga's injured, God forbid, if Boanga's not on it on one game, Sun will find a way to score. But you don't need both of them there. They're working this perfect symbiotic relationship. LAFC, right now, I'm calling it. You guys are going to win this year.
I think so too. Coming from a Galaxy fan. Now, let me look at the standings just because. Thank you for the compliment, but I just gotta rub it in you. Right outside of the
Scroll
qualification
down.
area, we have this team that is also on your T-shirt,
Yes.
called the Galaxy.
Yeah, as a 10th place team, we're not at the bottom like we were last year, but yeah, we're still a 10th place team. We're not good. We're all over the place. We're unorganized. We're plagued by injuries. There's more and more calls for the coach to step down. Right now against Toluca, we just got eliminated. If you guys weren't keeping up with CONCACAF, we got eliminated. The crowd was chanting, Veiney out, Veiney out, Veiney out. Those have just been growing louder and louder. As the injuries pile up, as the losing streak continues, that's just going to get louder. And if we want to be a serious club like we were, we have to get Vini out. I think, in my opinion, that's the only way if you want to take this club serious. We just went on the road to Austin, okay? That was the first road win since 2024.
Damn. And with that fact, my friends, we go on a break because I think Nik is going to cry at any moment. Tough of you to report on this team. My friends, don't go anywhere. When we come back, Liga MX y la CONCACAF Champions. This is LatiNation Football Club. ¿Qué tranza, mi gente? We are back here on LatiNation Football Club. Nik Z, Alex Crespo, and I'm gonna try. No, Chivo is not here, but it is time for La Gloriosa Liga MX. That's right. And I'm beyond excited because los Pumitas están teniendo. What a season for Pumitas. Los Pumas rugen y la novena está cerquita.
What's going on?
This is great. Pumas is just the team that I grew up watching. La Garra está de regreso. Efraín Juárez has been able to create the belief on the team. Let's remember that this is a coach that went to Colombia and in 4 months won 2 championships back-to-back with the same team. So we're talking about someone that is creating a new standard for young Mexican DTs, and the standings don't lie. Pumas on 4th place after not qualifying last year and only making 21 points in the whole season. Now we're sitting nicely. Look at that 27
Look at that,
my friends.
This is a very different looking table from past years. And I think
so.
Puma is taking advantage of that and looking absolutely great. I mean, look at where America is sitting first.
And it looks like they didn't really need Aaron Ramsey.
On the way, no. And rumor has it, my friends, rumor has it that Pumas is trying to break the internet, como dicen los jóvenes, because they're looking at Coutinho, my friends. The former Barcelona player might be dressed up on blue and gold. We'll see, but let's look at the standing from the top because Chiva, saludos desde aquí. Las Chivas continúan in first place, dominating performance this season. They are the team to beat right now. They will struggle later with the national team members leaving. We'll talk about it. But Cruz Azul, 2nd place, eliminated by LAFC. Don't forget that. We'll talk about CONCACAF Champions. Pachuca right there in the mix. But, Nik, what is your overall look? We have to look at Tigres, the usual suspects. But right outside, We have something brewing.
Yes,
dude.
yeah.
What's happening?
Okay, well, I'm getting flashbacks looking at Toluca right there after the Galaxy Toluca match. We'll talk about CONCACAF. What am I looking at? I mean, I'm looking at sort of, the bottom of who's going to go into the Liguilla. Look at Tigres. Tigres, a team that just is like basically limping out of their CONCACAF match against Seattle Sounders. Is that going to sound off some alarms? Losing that last match at home, over there on the road, but still going because they got a.
I think that they're building momentum.
They're building momentum.
They had a really tough first half of the season. They were not performing the way that we expect Tigres to perform. Finally, they had a critical result against Chivas. Sorry, Chivas. 4 pepinazos le metieron a las Chivas. Los perritos con cuernos. They were not able to resist Tigres that seemed to be like the old Tigres. Now they get the result. They advance on CONCACAF Champions. The advancement is the key part that they might bring to close these 3 last match days with what they need to make it into the Liguilla.
Can they do that with the possibility of Angel Correa eyeing out of the club?
Yes.
Possibly making a move. Argentina, you never know.
Tigres. I mean, I think that they were starting to go on a bad run with losing the 2 games from their last 5, but then they got the win. So I think that this is gonna, switch the mentality for this team, and they're still in the top 5, So.
Hey, but
the top 6. My bad.
You know
top
who's
6,
not too far out? When I'm looking at this, I'm looking at Juarez.
Juarez.
Look, Tijuana is like a guy from LA. I'm always kind of rooting low-key for Tijuana just because it's geographically close to me. But Juarez, another border club that I don't think is out of the realm of possibility for them.
No.
They have to be consistent.
Place.
They have it. Yeah, they haven't been that consistent. I would put that more on Caixinha, maybe not stepping up as a coach.
New coach.
Yeah, we'll give him time. I could see Juarez going. They're doing great with this.
But I got a question. Now with Tijuana being in 10th place, should Mexico be worried that Gilberto Mora isn't the player that they thought he was?
No, I think he is the player. I think that let me pull from the archive, my friends, the story of a young player called Andrés Guardado. Andrés Guardado used to play in Atlas, very young. Not a lot of people were convinced of his call-up to the Mexican team. He debuted against Argentina on elimination round of the World Cup, and it was the big surprise of the tournament. Everybody was blown away, and the rest is history. Everybody knows what Andrés Guardado became after that. Now, Gilberto Mora, he had all the opposite, right? He is very well known. The expectations are really high, but the reality is that I think that they're carrying him in the best way possible after a very, very dangerous and a nuisance of an injury, pubalgia, that is very hard to heal from. And I believe that little by little he'll play, regain that edge, and he will be one of the standout players of the World Cup. Now, I want to make a mention to Atlas, because Atlas is right there. Luis, I know that you're watching. I know that you're there hoping for Atlas to make it to the Liguilla. We hope so too. It's a team that is in rebuilding, just like Juarez, long-term projects that show that now in Mexico there's parity, and it's not only the big teams that are fighting, they also struggle. America it might be the end of the dream for them. But my friends, I think it's time for another break. Unfortunately, don't go anywhere. When we come back, más fútbol. ¿Qué tal, amigos? We are back. This is LatiNation Football Club, and we continue talking about continental tournaments, and it is the time for the Americas to shine. North America, the CONCACAF Champions. The CONCACAF Champions Cup, as is properly known, is ongoing, and 50-50, my friends. Half of the bracket is decided by MLS teams. Half of the bracket is decided by Liga MX team. The final four I decided. Nick, let's start with you.
Sure.
Talk to me about Toluca.
Oh, yeah. Well, they ravaged us at home and they ravaged us at our home. So, yeah, Galaxy is out, but that's okay. We've already won this tournament 3 decades ago. We don't need to win it again. It's okay. We got to focus on the MLS now, the domestic league. We don't have to worry about that. But anyways, yeah.
The pressure is on.
I mean, what pressure? There's no pressure. I mean, pressure's on Greg Vanney. There's no pressure on Galaxy fans. We're destroyed. Our souls are broken, so we're good.
We haven't heard. This is the first time we've heard Nick laugh in like.
Yeah,
I mean,
I just went outside
you
yesterday
laugh
for the
or you
first
cry
time.
when you go a Galaxy fan nowadays.
No, but
Even Ricky Puig was on the sidelines. He's teary-eyed watching.
yeah, but yeah, LAFC's looking great.
LAFC is looking great, my
Let's
friends.
change the subject.
They went and they show a quality that it has not been there before, and that's the reason why LAFC hasn't won this tournament, and it is know how not to lose. That's the important part. You can win at home and destroy a team like Cruz Azul 3-1 with a great performance by Son. We didn't talk about him earlier, but Martinez is a top player that has been scoring some bangers, some quality stuff out of this kid. Now, they go to Puebla. They play at a very, very hard stadium. They were impressed just to come out and see El Estadio, but they were able to pull out the result. They didn't lose. They won and tied at the very last moment, making sure they advanced 4-1. The biggest goal difference from an MLS side to a Liga MX side in the competition ever. Breaking records. Ay, nada más.
Making up
But
stats.
are you making up stats?
No?
Are you sure?
Chécalo.
But are you also surprised that LAFC beat Cruz Azul?
No, claro que no.
Because Cruz Azul, apparently they Cruz Azulearon
No la
all the
Cruz
time.
Azulearon. This was
I don't
a
know.
complete debasement of los Cruz Azulinos. They derailed la máquina. There was no doubt. There was nothing. LAFC will be the champion of this competition. Let's talk about the other side of the bracket. Tigres
Barely.
barely made it out of
Barely.
this.
Oh my
Seattle surprised. I always,
They do well in this tournament.
I'm not a Seattle fan, but Seattle is one of those teams that proudly represents MLS. This team is hard to beat, and I really like that Morris and Musowski were able to play at that high level to showcase the level that MLS has.
Not on the T-shirt though.
Not on the T-shirt.
But we got to be proud of our guys at Tigres because, you know, here at LatiNation, we have all the games. We didn't have this one, but
Pero los de casa sí.
the ones at home, yeah. I am very proud of Tigres. I think that did they lose the second game technically? Yes, but they advanced, and they are going to take this, hopefully, momentum into the league as well. So
Now, Nashville going to El Azteca and eliminated America. Is
Are we
this,
surprised?
You know, we're talking about like pretty much the best team in the West and the best team in the East in MLS, going and eliminating probably the two biggest, most known Mexican teams. Not only that, the current champion of CONCACAF Champions and two of the latest champions in Liga MX. Is MLS really making strides when it comes to comparing both leagues?
We're just getting better and better and better players here on this side of the border in our league, and I think it's starting to show the competitiveness between the two. It's almost neck and neck. I think Liga MX has more prestige, it's made more of a name for itself. It's obviously an older, more historic league. Mexicans have made more of a name for themselves as a footballing nation, but the U.S. is showing that it can compete. And that competition, ladies and gentlemen, is great for both sides. And I love to see this. And this is my favorite tournament to follow for that reason, because I'm proud of MLS teams. I love to watch them go international and go head-to-head with world-class clubs from Mexico. It's just like a win-win for both sides. It wakes Liga MX up like, oh God, now we got some competition of the guys up north. And then, you know, MLS is still, I don't want to say making a name for itself, but is sort of making a name for itself.
But it is.
Or at least, yes.
I think it's,
so. It's amazing.
MLS is here. It's in the conversation. There was always the debate like, oh, are they catching up? No, I think they're here. They're competing.
Yeah.
They have created. They have, they gotten great results both in the U.S. and go down to Mexico and get the results down there. Now we have Leagues Cup coming in not too long, right after the World Cup, and we'll see more when the parity of when now that you go travel down to Mexico and play down there. Maybe we can take that asterisk out. But let's recap the games that are coming ahead for us, because El Campeón Mexicano Toluca is going to go and try to beat LAFC without Buanga, because he won't be playing on the first leg due to yellow card accumulation. On the other side of the bracket, we have Nashville going against Tigres. Nick, what are your predictions?
Tigres are going to overcome Nashville, I think. Nashville's a good team. Tigres are they're better. They got more depth. I'm going with Tigres on that one. What do you guys say?
You're not saying it just because they're the LatiNation team, right?
No.
Because that is a big reason why they're going to win this game. I'm just saying.
Sentiment.
We have to back down our boys. The Tigres are definitely going to win against Nashville. I mean, they're good, but not as good as Tigres.
So, I don't even have to say it. Tigres is going to be in the final then against LAFC, because I feel LAFC has an edge. If we do a disciplined game, just like we did with Cruz Azul at the BMO Stadium, I feel like they have a chance. Now, La Bombonera en Toluca, it's a different thing. Puebla y el Estadio Corregidora, it's a tough one.
The Timu Bombonera?
No, my friend. Let me tell you, I dare you to go to Toluca and try to win there. It's a tough place. And we have players like Paulinho, right? This player is about to be called up by Portugal to go to the World Cup, top scorer in Liga MX, and he proved this game against Galaxy
he dismantled
that he is keen. But Son, Buanga, Palencia is playing at a super high level. Chonier. Like LAFC is deep, my friends. Is deep.
So deep.
And so, LAFC versus Tigres for the final? Or Toluca? Do we have an all MLS final? Do we have an all Liga MX final?
Man, I don't know.
It's a tough one.
LAFC versus Toluca is going to be a really good game, but
LAFC would win, though.
They draw and no one wins and everyone just goes home happy.
We all get a little part of the trophy. No, but let's talk about the standout players that we've seen throughout the tournament. For me, Buanga, top scorer. Now he's gonna miss the first leg of the semifinal, but the level that he's shown against all type of defenders is consistent. Now, do we see him leaving MLS next season? Do we see a big European contract going his way? Do we see a team like America that has been long after sus huesitos try to poach him for the Liga MX?
Does LAFC have the ability to keep him if he wants to go? And if he's getting a flashy...
You tell me.
If he's getting a flashy offer from a European club or something like that, what's going to keep him here?
I mean, how old is Buanga? That's my question.
Buanga is 27 years old.
27.
It's now or never for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's
going
to if he goes to Europe, it's not going to be one of the top teams, I can tell you that. I think it's going to be...
PSV or something?
Maybe.
It has to be an upgrade because he came from the French league, from Nice to LAFC. So he clearly is looking for a bigger... What is playing against him right now is that unfortunately Gabon, his country, was not able to make it to the World Cup. That for him was going to be a big space for him to showcase his abilities, maybe get a bigger contract. But the reality is that we see more and more high caliber players looking to come to MLS. I think that after the World Cup, we might see a big influx of, B-level, C-level players that might be out of contract to come here. We're gonna go on a break. Don't go anywhere, my friends. This is LatiNation Football Club. ¿Qué hubo, mi gente? We are back here, LatiNation Football Club, los meros meros del fútbol. And right now, we're going to go deep into 8 minutes of random football headlines from all around the world, my friends. And let's begin at the beginning.
Okay, what's the beginning?
Let's talk about what the defeat of Liverpool, Luisito, the defeat of Liverpool not only kicked them out of the tournament, leaving them probably without no trophies this year. There was some devastating news, though. One of the top players, Ekitike, I love to say his name, Ekitike, terrible injury, ruptured Achilles, 9 months out. Now, bad for Liverpool, but Nick, what does this mean for France in the World Cup?
I'm not too worried in general because France is obviously an amazing stacked squad with Mbappe and others, but not a good look at all. I mean, it's going to be tough for France. What a devastating thing to happen, not only for the club, but for the individual, man. You know, it's like you're looking forward to representing your team. You've made it, and now, you know, your team is probably the team to beat or one of the teams to beat in the tournament. You're definitely up there, and this is your time to shine, and then life takes a turn like that. That's going to be really tough for him.
Mama mentality.
But as for France, I mean, I don't think they're going to be too worried about this one because, I mean, you got players like Mbappe, Doué, Dembélé. I mean, Dembélé is Dembélé.
It's a good team. Now, Nick, what is your top headline of this week?
All right, well, let's bring it back to stateside. I want to talk about Mr. Crocker, our GM of the USSF, the U.S. Soccer Federation, leaving to take on a similar role in Saudi Arabia. They probably saw his vision. Yes, exactly. Go get your money, boo-boo. We support you. Because, and this is why I can say that, because what he's doing is legacy work, longer-term stuff, and I think that he's not going to be missed too much. Why? He did
2 months before the World Cup. He put together this project. He
What
was
were you
the one
just
that
doing?
brought
You were just doing
Pochettino.
this.
I mean,
that's why.
Good money, but the timing?
Saudi Arabia needs him now for the World Cup. He's doing long-term plays. He brought us Pochettino.
Yeah.
We'll see if that was a good move.
Hayes.
Was it Hayes? Developing the sport-wise, I think he's done a lot, and I think he's done what he needs to do to get us to where we are now for the World Cup. Nothing he's going to do now to help us with the World Cup. I don't think so. But bad look, like symbolically, okay. Dipping out right before the World Cup to go to Saudi Arabia, okay.
But we've seen like the back or like the response of like ex-players, for example, Landon Donovan definitely coming out in a video saying like if he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him here. And like that's just showing how like the U.S. fans are reacting.
Let's put in focus the fact that Landon Donovan is already campaigning for the presidency of U.S. Soccer. He has been very clear about it. He wants to work directly at the youth sport level because that's another mess in the U.S. Now, more headlines, Crespo. ¿Qué le pasó a tu amigo? ¿Cómo se llama ese jugador?
The best player in the world, Messi.
Yeah, that guy.
Lionel Andrés Messi. I mean, he's not in trouble. I mean, him and AFA are getting sued because he wasn't playing in the friendly in October here in Miami. Grow up. That's what I could say. Like, why are you like? Does he have to play every single game of his life? No. Like, just let him breathe.
But if you are a family, you are a dad, and you put some money to go buy tickets, expensive tickets, with the illusion to take your kids to watch.
That is true. That is true. And I would be very upset too. I mean, if I went to go see Argentina play and Messi's not playing, obviously I'm going to be very upset. But at the same time, like suing, like, come on, like, guys.
I mean,
like,
this is part of what happens when you get to that caliber.
Yeah.
You almost become like a zoo animal, or like a prop, or like a thing on display at the museum. If you go to the Louvre and the Mona Lisa's not there, you're gonna be like, wait, what? I just came all the way to Paris with it, right? It's kind of like that. You become this sort of spectacle that everyone comes to watch, and there's a lot of pressure on you. Cannot blame Messi, cannot blame the father who bought tickets for the whole family to go. But that's kind of what happens when you have this weird dynamic where everyone's coming to watch one person play. It was like when Michael Jordan came back to play for the Wizards, and it was like everyone was just going to see Michael Jordan play, but it's like the Wizards.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about ridiculous prices. Because rumor has it, my friends, that if you are trying to go from New York to New Jersey to MetLife Stadium for any of the World Cup games, instead of paying the $12 that normally cost. We are hearing rumor of $100 fare for the ferry that takes you to New Jersey, my friends. We are talking about the fact that people might be dropping $200 to $300 before they even get to the stadium. Are we destroying the legacy of the World Cup by this money-hungry organization that the 2026 Cup is becoming?
Marce, it's called dynamic pricing. Please.
Sorry,
calm down.
sorry. Could you please break that to me? Because it feels unfair.
Yes. In this country, everything is about money. Matt Crocker. Is his name Matt Crocker? Matt Crocker. Mr. Crocker. And yes, I think that's going to reflect. FIFA is turned into a money-grabbing machine. Well, probably always has been. Now it's just on display because USA is just, that's what USA is. So you combine the two, boom, reach it in your pockets at every point. You can't even go to fan zones anymore for free and watch the game on a big screen because you can't afford to go watch inside the stadium because you don't have $10,000 for a ticket. Well, now you can't even just walk and go see a big projection of the game outside of the stadium. You're gonna have to pay to go into those. Those have historically been free as well. They're gonna have halftime shows. Shakira shaking it over there at halftime. I don't know who it's gonna be, but I'm just saying. But it's like we're totally NFL-izing the World Cup, and it's just like commercials everywhere. Well, Liga MX is no stranger to commercials, but we're let's say North Americanizing the sport, commercializing it too much, corporatizing it too much. It's a bit much with the hydration breaks.
Let's
Come
just
on now.
context. I like to bring context, historical context.
Please.
To this. In Qatar, public transportation was free to everyone with a ticket for the World Cup. I'm not talking about 20 years ago, where like in 1994. The ticket to the final on a very good seat was $100. So we have a historical context of where we are talking that a family that wants to go to the final has to drop at least 25 grand. You heard right, $25,000 for a group of 4 tickets to go to the World Cup. Some of these tickets might be 25 grand on their own. Bring back free games, my friend.
Yes.
Any other headline, my friends?
I mean,
you mentioned that
we did mention the Real Madrid manager case. I don't know if we want to like go deep into this because
Talk to me, Alex. Talk to me. ¿Van a correr a Arriola?
Real Madrid is just like switching their manager like they switch a girl. You know, it's just like yikes.
Is that how you do it?
I mean, the way Nik Z taught me. I don't know.
Oh, my friends, I'm gonna defuse the situation before the FTC calls us. My friends, you're watching LatiNation Football Club. We'll be right back.
What's up, LatiNation FC? I am Alex Crespo, your certified Gen Z host, and of course, I had to bring in the reinforcements. So today, I am bringing Richie, who is part of our social media team, but not just that, he is very well known in the queer community, he is well known in the fashion industry, but he's also a big soccer fan. And I also had to bring in my buddy Joe, who is gonna bring us, the oomph to the soccer mentality that you guys need to know. So, of course, we're gonna be talking about Coachella. Coachella is a big music festival that, we all wanna be at, but the big headline for this was that Zulan brought out her Boca jersey, the best team in South America, some might say, I might say. But, this is a very big cultural moment. So, Joe, what do you think this means for soccer?
Look, honestly, the way I look at it, she curated a whole soccer Boca Junior football set. She basically bought the football stadium to Coachella. It was super dope. We know she's heavily tapped in the football community. She was right there at the Nike Toma event last year for the finals, and now she's over here at Coachella, so it's no surprise what she's doing, especially right now with the World Cup being hot.
I mean, it is definitely awesome to see this football culture go into Coachella. Now, the whole Coachella vibe is switching up and bringing in the soccer community to it. Richie, what does this mean for fashion in Coachella?
Okay, so I think for fashion is, we knew Coachella as the influencer Olympics because they go all off, but I feel like people are going back to being comfortable, and a good way to still look really good, sexy, hot, and all of that by being comfortable, it's a jersey. They are really cool design. They're comfy, they're fresh. You need that, especially in the desert. So I think that's what's happening in the fashion part of it. I would love to just go in a jersey instead of bringing up like a vest and a bunch of stuff. I think that's too much for me. Necessarily, I want to be comfortable. But like I said, you can look really cool at the same time. And it's also cool to, like, I don't know, if I go with a Mexican shirt and then I see someone else with a Mexican jersey, you're like, oh my God, you're from Mexico. Like, it brings that thing, like you'll find someone from your team there, and that will be really cool.
I mean, yeah, we definitely saw a lot of Latino representation, and this was definitely shown with the jerseys. I mean, we saw so many jerseys being represented at this music festival, but we gotta move on. You guys did mention the World Cup, and of course, we can't not talk about Belinda and Los Angeles Azules making a World Cup song. What do you guys think about this?
Look, I'm gonna be real. It seems like instead of trying to find that one banger like they did with Shakira, they're just trying to make a whole album and hopefully one of them hits. It's a cool song. There's gonna be a lot of cool songs, but it just seems like they're throwing a lot of, songs out there.
And Richie, what do you think about this mix of cultures going into this song and just the representation going into this World Cup?
So I really like that they chose Belinda because I feel like she is millennial but Gen Z adjacent. I'm a huge fan of Belinda, I love her music. And then Los Angeles Azules are something that my grandparents listen to. So I feel like it's really cool that they're bringing the 4 generations together. And then bringing artists like Belinda that a lot of people might not be into soccer, but they're into her music and all that, because Belinda's a little fresita. Like, I'm a little fresita, let's say that. And it's cool that through her we can start being a little more interested in soccer, and perhaps we start watching it every week instead of every 4 years.
We're moving on because we have another big topic that happened this weekend. This weekend was Champions League, and of course, the internet reacts, And we saw Lamine Yamal and a lot of other players, recreate the LeBron meme where he's going into the final and, he had to go and come back from a 3-1 loss. And the Atletico players, of course, bounced back and recreated their picture after the win. What do we think about these big teams' social medias handling it this way and they just they don't care?
I mean, you gotta start working on social media too. That's part of marketing. If you want people to go to the stadium, you have to have people on their phones searching you up. That's how investors are like, okay, this team is gonna bring money, let's invest in this team and let's give them the best dates or the best stadium. So I think it's very smart and I like it. It makes me feel more like I can interact more with them, more so like my dad or my uncle probably did before. They just knew the players from the speeches or the actual game, I get to kind of meet them in a deeper level.
Yeah.
Through socials.
And that's through social media. What about you, Joe? What do you think that like this collab brings out?
Look, honestly, it comes to the point where it's like it makes the game a little more spicy. The rivalry's there. We all know what Lamine posted and said before the match, and now they're going out there. They're like slide tackling each other and everything, and then it's like, look, they clap back with that LeBron meme right back at them. It's just like, man, like, part of you wants to be like, hey, just lock in, play the game, but the other part of you knows like, hey, this is funny. This brings a little kick to it.
Well, that is all the time we have for today's show. Thank you, Marce and Nick, who unfortunately had to go to bed early because, you know, they are on a time crunch being unks and all that. But thank you guys at home for joining in. Thank you, Richie, and thank you, Joe, for helping me out with this. And we will see you guys next week.